I never thought I'd feel this small in my own life. Not until I stood outside the grand hall, watching Emily Saunders glide down the aisle. Her dress sparkled, her smile bright, but it wasn't for me. I gritted my teeth and tried to look away, but I couldn't. I couldn't stop seeing her, couldn't stop the hurt. "Alex, you okay?" my best friend, Ryan, whispered beside me. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. My throat felt tight. "Really?" He shook his head. "You don't look fine." "She's beautiful, isn't she?" I swallowed hard. "Yeah, beautiful." The words stuck in my throat like glass. I remembered last week, the night I had begged her to stay. "Emily, listen to me. I don't have money, I don't have status, but I have." "You have your heart, Alex," she interrupted, her voice trembling. "And that's enough for me to love you, but not enough to live the life my father wants." I'm sorry. I had wanted to argue, to tell her that love was supposed to be enough. "Emily, money doesn't buy happiness." I shouted that night, my hands shaking. "You know me. You know I'd do anything for you." Her eyes glistened. "I know. I love you, Alex. But I can't." The word "can't" still echoes in my head, a hammer to my chest. And now, here she was walking toward another man, James Whitman. Rich. Charming. Everything I wasn't. I leaned against the cold stone wall of the hall, trying to calm myself. "Why him?" I muttered. "Why not me?" "Alex," Ryan's voice was quiet, careful. "He's got money. His father is powerful. This is how things work." I laughed bitterly. "So love doesn't matter? Only money? Only status?" "It's complicated," Ryan said. "I get it, man. I really do." I turned to look at Emily again. She smiled at James, and he winked back. I felt the floor give way under me. My hands clenched into fists. "She's happy, right? That's all that matters, I guess." Ryan put a hand on my shoulder. "Don't let it break you, Alex. You're stronger than this." I shook him off. "Stronger?" I repeated, my voice hollow. "Stronger than seeing the girl I love marry someone else. Stronger than being stuck in this pain," he said softly. "Trust me." I didn't trust anything right then. Not the wedding, not Ryan, not even myself. I watched them exchange vows. Every word felt like a blade slicing through me. "I do," Emily said, her voice soft but firm. James grinned. "I do." They kissed. I swallowed the lump in my throat, but it wouldn't go down. I wanted to scream, to run up there and tell her it was a mistake. But what would I say? That I loved her more than anything. She already knew that. And it wasn't enough. After the ceremony, I stayed outside. I couldn't face the reception. I could hear laughter and music spilling out through the windows. I hugged my jacket tighter around me. Cold. Empty. Alone. "Alex." Ryan's voice broke through my fog again. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice flat. "I can't stay here. I can't." He frowned. "Where will you go?" "Anywhere," I said. "Anywhere but here." He didn't argue. He knew there was nothing he could do. And maybe he was right. I couldn't stay in Boston, couldn't breathe in the same air as her and James. I'd be a ghost in my own city, haunted by what I couldn't have. That night, I packed a bag and walked to the train station. The city lights blurred through my tears. Every memory of Emily burned in my mind. Every smile, every touch, every moment we shared in secret. I remembered the first time we met, at the library. "Hi, I'm Emily," she said, smiling shyly. "I'm Alex," I said, trying not to stare too hard at her eyes. They were mesmerizing. From that moment, I was done for. She had this way of making the world disappear, leaving just us. And now she belonged to someone else. The train rattled beneath me, and I pressed my forehead against the cold glass window. Boston shrank behind me, and I felt like I was leaving a part of myself there. My pride, my love, my dreams, everything tied to Emily, was slipping away. "I'll come back," I whispered to the night. "I'll come back stronger. I'll show everyone." The words burned in my chest, a promise to myself. Not just revenge, but proof that I could rise, no matter how deep the wound. I closed my eyes as the train sped away, trying to hold back the sobs. I thought about the life ahead, unknown, uncertain, lonely, but it was mine to claim. And one day, Emily would see me as I wanted her to see me. Unbreakable, unstoppable, someone she couldn't ignore. For now, though, I let the tears fall. I had lost her, yes, but I hadn't lost myself. Not yet. "Goodbye, Emily," I whispered, voice barely audible over the train's roar. "And thank you for breaking me. Because now I'll rise." I never imagined life could hurt this much. Yet here I was, standing in a dusty recruitment office with my hands shaking. "You sure about this, Carter?" the recruiter asked, flipping through forms. "I have to do this," I said, voice tighter than I intended. "I can't stay where I am." He raised an eyebrow. "It's tough. Not just physically, mentally too. You've got what it takes." "I'll find out," I muttered. By the time I stepped onto the training base, my past felt like a shadow I couldn't shake. Every drill, every shouted command, reminded me that I wasn't ready. "Move faster, Carter." "You call that a run?" A voice barked behind me. I pushed harder, gasping. "I'm trying." "You're slow. Keep up." Hours felt like days. My muscles screamed, my lungs burned, and every step reminded me of Emily, of James, of everything I lost. "Hey, newbie," a woman said as I collapsed onto a bench, drenched in sweat. "Name's Mia Roberts. You look like hell, but at least you're breathing." I laughed weakly. "Alex. And yet feels like hell." "You're in the army now, Carter." "Hell's kind of the point," she said, smirking. "Stick with me, and maybe you'll survive." I wanted to ask her why she cared, but my throat was raw from yelling and running. So I just nodded. Days turned into weeks. I learned quickly that whining got me nowhere. Captain Daniel Harris, our drill instructor, didn't tolerate excuses. "Carter, eyes up," he shouted during obstacle training. "Discipline is not optional. You want to survive out there? You earn it." "Yes, sir." I gasped, scrambling over the wall. My body shook violently. "Sir, yes, sir." He nodded. "Good, but your mind has to catch up. Strength without focus gets you killed." I kept seeing Emily's face when I closed my eyes. I imagined her smile, the rejection, the wedding dress. It all fueled me. "Focus," I whispered to myself. "Be more than him. Be more than anyone expects." Mia noticed my fixation. "You're obsessed with someone, aren't you?" she said one evening, tossing a towel at me. I caught it awkwardly. It's complicated. Complicated is usually heartbreak. Don't let it break you. Let it drive you. She wasn't wrong. Every push-up, every mile, every drill became a tiny battle to prove to myself that I wasn't the same boy who had been left behind. One night, exhausted and freezing, I sat by the fire with the other recruits. "You gonna make it, Carter?" a guy named Ben asked. He was barely older than me, but his attitude was solid. "I don't have a choice," I said. I need to come back different." "You mean stronger," Ben said, nodding. "The army's going to make you that. Or break you trying." I stared at the flames. "I don't want just to survive. I want to become impossible to ignore. Someone no one can forget." Mia leaned closer. "Keep that in mind. Every drop of sweat, every bruise, every cold night, it's all part of shaping you. You'll look back and realize you built yourself up brick by brick." Captain Harris caught me practicing shooting the next morning. "Carter, eyes on the target. Hard on the mission." "Yes, sir," I replied, gripping the rifle tighter than ever. "You're letting distractions get in the way," he said sharply. "Focus. This isn't a game." "I'm focused, sir," I said, teeth clenched. He studied me a moment, then nodded slightly. "Good. But don't let emotions cloud your judgment. Anger, pain, they're dangerous if uncontrolled." I gritted my teeth and walked away, thinking controlled, not crushed. Weeks blurred together. Mornings of running, afternoons of drills, nights spent studying strategy. I learned to push past the pain in my body, past the memories in my mind. "You're improving," Mia said one evening as we cleaned our gear. "Remember that night when you almost quit?" "Yeah," I muttered. "I thought I couldn't do it." "You could have stopped. You didn't. That's progress, Carter. That's growth. And trust me, it shows." I looked at her, grateful. "Thanks, Mia, for noticing." "Don't thank me yet. There's more hell ahead," she said with a grin. One night, I stayed alone on the training field, staring up at the stars. "Emily," I whispered, "you didn't see me then, but I'll make sure you can't ignore me. I'll be stronger, smarter, better than I ever was. Not for revenge, not just for you, but for me. For the boy you broke who still refuses to stay broken." The weeks rolled into months. Captain Harris became more than a mentor. He became a measure of what I could become. "You've got potential, Carter," he said one morning after a grueling run. "Discipline, strength, focus. But the real battle is inside your head. Control it, or it controls you." "Yes, sir," I replied, feeling a fire ignite inside me. Inside my head, I won't let the past dictate my future. I will rise no matter what. Every day, I carried the sting of rejection with me, but I stopped letting it weigh me down. Instead, I turned it into fuel. I pushed harder in drills, ran faster, lifted heavier, studied longer. Mia laughed one day as she watched me struggling through obstacle training. "You've changed, Carter. No more whining. No more excuses." I smiled, sweat dripping down my face. "I'm not the same boy, Mia. I'm not broken anymore. I'm building something they can't ignore." "You sound like a general already," she said, smirking. "Maybe someday," I whispered to myself. "But for now, step by step, drill by drill, mile by mile." And as I collapsed onto the grass that evening, exhausted but alive, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. Determination. Strength. The boy Emily left behind was gone. In his place, someone new was rising. Someone ready to face the world. Someone ready to return. Someone impossible to ignore. I hadn't walked the streets of Boston in 5 years. The air smelled the same, but I didn't. 5 years of Army discipline, missions, and relentless training had carved a new version of me. I straightened my jacket as I stepped out of the taxi. This wasn't the Alex Carter who had been left behind. This Alex demanded attention without saying a word. "Alex Carter?" a familiar voice asked behind me. I turned. Ryan, older, a little heavier, but still the same loyal friend. "I've changed," I said simply, smiling slightly. He grinned. "I can see it. The Army did you well. Boston feels smaller," I muttered. "Or maybe I just see it differently now." He laughed. "Probably both. Come on, there's a gala tonight. Charity event. You'll want to see." His voice trailed off as he gestured inside the grand hall. I followed him, pretending I wasn't nervous. Not about the gala itself, but about who might be inside. The doors opened, and the room buzzed with laughter and chatter. Crystal chandeliers reflected the warm light across polished floors. I scanned the crowd, eyes instinctively searching for one face. And there she was, Emily. She looked older, more elegant, radiant in a silver gown. Her hair flowed perfectly, and for a moment, it was like seeing a painting I could never touch. "She's stunning," Ryan muttered. I didn't answer. My throat felt tight. James Whitman was beside her, tall, confident, smiling like he owned the room. My stomach twisted. "Alex." Emily's voice floated across the room, softer than I remembered. I froze for a heartbeat. Then I walked toward her, deliberate, calm, unshaken. She blinked, recognition dawning slowly. "Alex?" she repeated, taking a step back. "Emily," I said, keeping my tone even. "It's been 5 years." Her eyes widened. You look different. Stronger." I smirked slightly. The Army has a way of changing a person. "And you look happy." "Yes, I am," she said quickly. "James and it's been good." I nodded slowly, eyes on her. "Good. I'm glad." There was tension between us, a current that neither of us touched. I could see her glance at James. He noticed me too, his expression faltering for a second. "Alex Carter?" James finally said, stepping forward. His voice had a hint of uncertainty. "You served, right?" "Yes," I said simply. 5 years. He hesitated, like he wasn't sure how to react. "Wow, you've really changed." "You could say that," I replied. My gaze flicked to Emily. "Boston hasn't changed much. But people, they do." Emily's father, Richard Saunders, came over, authoritative as ever. "Alex Carter," he said, hand extended. "You're back." I shook his hand firmly. "Yes, sir." Boston called. "Emily tells me you've done well," he said, nodding slowly. His eyes searched mine, as if measuring my worth. "The Army can teach discipline. It seems you've learned more than that." "Thank you, sir," I said politely, though my heart thumped. I remembered his disapproval 5 years ago, how he'd pushed Emily toward James. That had changed nothing about my drive, but it had left scars. Emily spoke softly, almost hesitantly. "Alex, I didn't expect to see you like this. You're different." "I've grown," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Not just in body. In mind. In focus. Life has a way of teaching hard lessons." She nodded, eyes flicking to James, who was still standing awkwardly. I married him, but I wonder sometimes." I cut her off gently. "Emily, I didn't come back to reopen old wounds. I came back to see the city, my friends, and well, you." Her lips pressed together. I held up a hand. "Don't speak. Not yet. I'm observing. Seeing what's changed, what hasn't. I'm not here to disrupt, not yet. But I needed to see you." She swallowed hard, her eyes glimmering with something I couldn't name. Regret, perhaps, or curiosity. James finally spoke, his voice tighter than before. We should go mingle. There's a lot of people here. Of course, I said, watching Emily glance back at me once more. Her expression was a mixture of surprise and something else. After a few minutes, I stepped outside to breathe. The night air was cold, crisp, and clear. I leaned against the balcony railing, letting the memories flood me. But now they were different. They didn't hurt. They reminded me how far I'd come. Ryan came out a moment later. You okay? I am, I said, staring at the city lights below. I'm seeing it all differently. I've changed. And so has she, but maybe not in the ways that matter. You planning to? He asked cautiously. No, I said. Not yet. I'm here to watch. To see. To understand. Revenge isn't a sprint. It's a long game. And the game has just begun. I thought about Emily, about the life she had chosen, about James and his ease with privilege. I didn't feel anger, not anymore. I felt power, control, focus. Do you think she'd notice if you approached more directly? Ryan asked. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe, but I don't want to force anything. I want her to see me, to really see me, not the boy she left behind. The gala inside carried on, laughter and music spilling out, but I felt detached, a silent observer of a world that once ruled me. I'll return to this room differently, I whispered to myself. Stronger, more commanding. And when I do, she'll remember who I am. Not the boy who loved her blindly, but the man who refused to be forgotten. Ryan clapped me on the shoulder. Well, looks like Alex Carter's back. I smiled faintly. Yes, back. And this time, I'm in control. I glanced at Emily one last time before leaving the balcony, watching her laugh with James, radiant, unguarded. And I felt no pangs of loss. Only resolve. The city, the people, the memories, they were all mine to face now. And I was ready. I didn't plan to run into Emily again so soon, but Boston has a way of surprising you. The charity gala was bustling, lights reflecting off crystal glasses, laughter floating through the air. I walked in confidently, scanning the crowd. Alex, over here. I turned to see Oliver Grant waving. My old friend, sharp as ever, his suit immaculate. Oliver, I said, smiling. Good to see you. You look different, he said, grinning. Taller, sharper. And that jawline, don't tell me the army did this. I'll take credit for the army, I said, shaking my head. He clapped me on the shoulder. You're turning heads already. And speaking of heads, there's someone you might want to notice you too. I followed his gaze, and my stomach tightened. Emily, radiant in a deep blue gown, was speaking with a group of socialites. James stood a step behind her, checking his phone nervously. You're enjoying this too much, I muttered, mostly to myself. Oliver smirked. Enjoy it. I'm savoring it. Look at James. He's sweating under that suit, and he's barely talking to her. You're making him nervous without even trying. I let out a low chuckle. It wasn't my intention. Sure it wasn't, Oliver said. Come on, let's mingle. But subtly. Don't make it obvious you're here to stir the waters. I nodded, scanning the room again. Emily's eyes flicked to me. I caught the briefest hint of recognition, surprise, maybe guilt, and then she looked away. My heart skipped a beat, but I forced calm. I wasn't the boy she rejected. I was Alex Carter, decorated officer, in control. A woman approached me. Lieutenant Carter, I heard about your mission last year. Incredible work. Thank you, I said politely. It was a team effort. Mia's words from training echoed in my mind. Let every word, every action, show who you've become without shouting it. Oliver leaned closer. See that, he whispered. Emily's noticing. She can't help it. I smirked faintly. Not yet. Just a glance. But enough to remind me why I came back. Emily excused herself from her group and moved toward the refreshments. I casually followed, keeping a distance. My pulse quickened, memories and desire colliding with discipline. Alex, she said, soft and careful as she poured a glass of water. Emily, I replied evenly. It's good to see you again. You look amazing, she said, glancing at my uniform jacket. The army, it suits you. I shrugged lightly. It's been transformative. And you're as stunning as ever. Her lips pressed together briefly, a nervous gesture I remembered all too well. Thank you. Do you ever think about the past? I asked carefully. Emily laughed softly. Sometimes. But we all have our paths, right? Right, I said, letting the word hang. But some paths cross again. And when they do, it's surprising. She didn't respond immediately, instead glancing toward James, who now approached with a forced smile. "Emily, you okay?" James asked, too loud. "Yes, James. I'm fine," she replied smoothly. I felt a small thrill. James's face tightened slightly, his eyes flicking to me. I could see the insecurity, the subtle fear of someone like me, someone who had earned respect, strength, and presence. Oliver leaned in again. "That's your moment. Not to confront, just be present. Make him feel the comparison." I nodded, offering a polite smile to James. "Hello, James." He stiffened. "Lieutenant Carter. Didn't expect to see you here." "Boston has its surprises," I said lightly. Emily laughed, a little too nervously. "You two always so formal." James coughed, clearly trying to regain composure. "Yes. Formal. Very formal." I glanced at Emily. "How's life treating you?" "Busy," she said. "Charity work, James's projects, everything." "Sounds exhausting," I said. "But you wear it well." She looked at me then, her expression a mixture of admiration and guilt. "Alex." I held up a hand, stopping her. "Not here. Not now. I'm observing. That's enough for me." She nodded reluctantly, and I let her move back toward her guests. I caught her glancing again, though, and it sent a jolt through me. She noticed me. She was comparing, wondering, questioning. James tried to smile, but his shoulders were tense. "I'll get us another drink," he muttered, guiding Emily away. Oliver nudged me. "You're doing damage without lifting a finger." I laughed quietly. "It's not damage. It's reality. Sometimes karma isn't loud. Sometimes it's quiet, subtle, and more effective." Emily's attention, even fleeting, was enough to remind me why I'd returned. Not for revenge, not yet, but to show her what she had missed. Later, I met old friends, networking, sharing stories of my service. Oliver stayed nearby, watching Emily's reactions from a distance. Every glance she threw my way, every hesitant smile was fuel. "I think she remembers who you were," Oliver said quietly as we stepped outside for air. "I think she's seeing who I've become," I corrected him. "And James. James is cracking," I said. You could see it in his eyes tonight. The confidence, the ease he had, it's faltering. Not because I said anything. Because he knows the world sees a different me now. And she notices. Oliver smirked. "Classic. Quiet chaos." I laughed softly. "Exactly. I don't need confrontation. Just presence. And patience. She'll understand eventually on her own." The city lights reflected in her eyes when she glanced at me again. I felt the old pull, the love, the longing, but I pushed it down. The bitterness of betrayal lingered too, whispering that I couldn't let her see me fully, not yet. For now, I let the tension build, let the glances, the subtle admiration do the work. Let her notice, let James falter. That was enough. I inhaled deeply. "Step by step," I muttered. "Every event, every glance, every choice, all leading to the moment I decide what comes next." Emily laughed lightly nearby. I didn't move closer. I didn't need to. She was already looking, already questioning. And that was the start of everything. I never thought I'd enjoy watching James Whitman crack, but there I was, a silent observer in his unraveling world. It started at a charity board meeting. He was late, disheveled, snapping at assistants for minor mistakes. Emily looked tired, her eyes carrying that weight I'd seen before I left Boston. "James, please," she said softly. "It's not a big deal." "It is a big deal," he barked, slamming a folder onto the table. "Do you think I have time for incompetence?" Emily flinched but didn't respond. My chest tightened, partly for her, partly because I could see it all so clearly now. Later, she approached me, her voice a whisper. "Alex, I can't take it sometimes." I kept my voice low, careful. "Tell me what's going on." "He's impossible. Always angry, always controlling." I tried to reason, but her voice cracked. "He doesn't listen." I wanted to reach for her hand, to comfort her like I had in those secret afternoons we once shared, but I resisted. "Emily, maybe he's under pressure. But you deserve someone who listens." I know, she said, looking down. "It's just complicated. We have a life together, a house, expectations. His world is different from what I imagined." "Do you feel happy?" I asked carefully, my words gentle but probing. She paused, her eyes meeting mine. "Some days, yes. But most days I feel overlooked. Like I'm just part of his schedule." I swallowed, keeping my expression neutral. "You deserve more than that. You deserve respect. And attention." Emily laughed softly, bitterly. You always know what to say, don't you? I smiled faintly. I've had practice. That night, I walked her to her car. Emily, think carefully about what you want. Not what people expect of you. Not what James expects. You. I'm scared, Alex, she admitted, gripping her purse. I don't want to make a mistake. But sometimes I wonder if I did already. You didn't make a mistake loving him, I said softly. You made a choice. And choices, they can be reassessed when you're ready. She glanced at me, eyes glimmering. Alex, you've changed. You're confident, strong. The Alex I knew, he'd be lost in all this. I chuckled lightly. He's gone. This Alex, he's learned not to be broken anymore. Not by anyone. Emily smiled faintly, but I saw the flicker of longing, the memory of what we had once shared. It reminded me of the old tree by the library where we used to talk for hours. That place held laughter, confessions, dreams, and heartbreak. Remember the tree by the library? I asked quietly. The one we used to hide in when no one could find us? Her lips curved in a nostalgic smile. I remember. We thought we had the world figured out. We did in our own way, I said. Back then, it was just us against everything. And I guess that's when I learned how much I could care for someone. Emily's eyes softened. I never stopped caring, Alex. Even now, part of me regrets how things ended. I nodded slowly, keeping my tone even. Regret doesn't change the past, but it can guide you for the future. She sighed, glancing toward the city lights. James, he doesn't see me. He doesn't really know me anymore. I really try, but I could see it, the cracks forming more clearly now. You're realizing the truth about him, about what you've sacrificed. And maybe deep down, you know the life you wanted isn't here. Emily didn't answer. She just stared at the night sky, silent, conflicted. I felt a mixture of triumph and pain. Part of me still loved her. Part of me wanted to let karma unfold slowly, letting her discover James for who he really was. The next day, I attended a social brunch with Emily and a few minor figures from her charity circles. James was tense, checking his phone constantly, interrupting conversations, barely paying attention to Emily. You should relax, James, one of the assistants suggested softly. People can tell when you're stressed. I'm fine, he snapped, glancing around nervously. Emily looked down, squeezing her hands. Later, she caught my eye across the table. Alex, thank you, she whispered. For what? I asked quietly. For just being here. Listening. Understanding. Always, I replied, letting the word linger. James didn't notice her subtle exchange with me, but I did. The tension was growing. The cracks were widening. And Emily's admiration for me, though she didn't realize it yet, was blossoming quietly. That evening, Oliver and I walked through the Boston streets, discussing what we'd observed. He's failing, Oliver said bluntly. Every interaction shows it. James isn't equipped to handle Emily, and she's noticing more than she admits. I know, I said, and I have to be careful. I can't push her, not yet. She has to see him for who he is. I can only be a mirror, showing what she's missing. Oliver grinned. You're playing a long game, my friend. Smart. Very smart. I've learned, I said softly, thinking of the army, the discipline, the patience I had gained. Love and revenge, sometimes they look the same from the outside. But the timing has to be perfect. As we passed the library, I glanced at the old tree outside. Memories of Emily laughing, confiding, trusting me, hit me hard. That memory, so simple yet profound, reminded me why I returned stronger. Why I couldn't allow myself to be consumed by bitterness. Step by step, I murmured. Observe, wait, let them see the truth themselves. Let karma, patience, and presence do their work. Emily's laughter echoed faintly from a nearby cafe. I felt the old pull in my chest, the love, the longing, but I pushed it down. I was no longer the boy who had been left behind. I was a man in control. And in control, I could wait. I could wait while James faltered. I could wait while Emily began to question the life she chose. And when the time was right, everything would be different. I never expected to see Emily alone again, not like this. It was at a quiet charity event, just a few people milling around, hors d'oeuvres in hand. I had been talking to a couple of old colleagues when I noticed her stepping away from the crowd, eyes scanning the room nervously. Emily, I said softly, approaching her. She froze, then turned. Her lips parted, and I saw it, the flicker of vulnerability I hadn't seen in years. Alex, she whispered, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to run into you. You didn't, I said calmly. Seems fate has a sense of timing. She laughed nervously, glancing at the small crowd nearby. Can we talk somewhere private? I nodded. Lead the way. We moved to a quiet terrace at the back, city lights stretching below us. The wind carried the faint scent of spring. She crossed her arms, struggling for composure. Alex, I regret it, she said finally, words rushed but raw. I regret marrying him. I thought it was right, but it's not. I let her speak, keeping my expression neutral. Emily, you're saying this now. Why? Tears glimmered in her eyes. Because I see you, and I realize how different you are. How much you've changed. And I feel like I missed you. I inhaled slowly, steadying my voice. I've changed, yes. Not because of you, not because of anger, but because I refuse to be the boy left behind. The Alex you rejected doesn't exist anymore. Her gaze softened, then darted down. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was making the right choice, but I can't stop thinking about you, about what we had. You're married, I said, calm but firm. That's the reality now. And you chose that path. I didn't stop you, and I won't undermine your decisions. But Emily, I interrupted gently, you're seeing the gap between who I was and who I am now. That realization, it's yours to bear. I won't chase you. I won't force you to regret what you chose. But I will let you understand it, quietly, through what you see. Her hands trembled slightly. You make it sound so easy. You make it sound like I can't reach you anymore. You can't, I said softly. Not unless you truly want to. Not unless you're ready to face the consequences of your choices. I've learned to hold power without using it to hurt. That's the difference. Emily looked at me, vulnerability and longing mixing with guilt. I'm scared, Alex. Of divorce, of what people would say, of losing everything. But part of me wants to feel alive again. With you. I held her gaze steadily. You'll have to choose your life carefully, Emily. Not for me. Not for James. For yourself. She bit her lip. It's just, I never realized how much I underestimated you. How much I missed. And now you're untouchable in a way I never imagined. I smiled faintly, not smug, just steady. Untouchable? Maybe. Or maybe I just stopped letting the world control me. The boy you knew, he'd have begged, pleaded. This man, he's measured. Disciplined. Patient. And he sees clearly. Emily's eyes glistened with tears. Alex, I wish I could go back. You can't, I said softly. You can only move forward or stand still. And standing still will hurt more than leaving. She nodded, swallowing hard. I see that now. And James, I can't rely on him to see me. He's failing. I'm realizing how little he understands, how arrogant he really is. I didn't need her to spell it out. I had been watching his downfall unfold. The failed business deal, the humiliation, the loss of respect. It all stemmed from his pride and poor choices. And he didn't even know I'd witnessed it. You've grown, she said quietly, almost a whisper. More than I could have imagined. And I feel powerless. Powerless? I asked. Yes, she said, voice shaky. Because I can't undo what's done. Because I see the man you've become, and I wanted to be part of that. But I didn't choose right. And now you wait, I said gently. You observe. You understand. And maybe you'll find your own path without forcing mine. That's the difference between regret and revenge, Emily. I don't need to hurt him to prove myself. He's already crumbling because of his own choices. Emily looked down at her hands. And me, you, I said, are learning the truth. Slowly, carefully. And that truth is yours to face. Not mine to hand over. Her lips pressed together, and I could see the conflict. The part of her that still loved me, the part that feared losing James, the part that finally recognized what she had sacrificed. Alex, she whispered, voice trembling. I wish things could be different. They are different, I said softly. Not because I changed for you, but because I refused to remain broken. And that's what matters. We stood there, silent for a long moment, the city lights stretching below. I could feel the weight of her emotions, the pull of memories, the intensity of choices made and regrets held. Inside, James was facing professional humiliation, a deal lost, a reputation tarnished, a confidence shattered. Outside, Emily realized how far I had come. And I held the power quietly, morally, letting karma do its work without my hand needing to intervene. Go home, Emily, I said finally. Think, learn, decide, and know this. I'm not here to punish, I'm here to live. And that life is untouchable because I own it. She nodded, tears falling freely now. Alex. I turned, walking away without another word. My chest was heavy, but my mind was clear. I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need to act. The consequences of choices, arrogance, and missed opportunities were playing out naturally. And Emily she would see in time, who she had truly lost. As I left the terrace, I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not from revenge, not from hurting anyone, but from knowing I had risen above the past. And sometimes, that was the ultimate victory. I didn't expect the final moment to feel so quiet. Boston was alive around me, lights flickering on the streets, the hum of distant traffic filling the air. Emily stood in front of me, her eyes wide, shimmering with unspoken words. Alex, she said, voice trembling. I can't stop thinking about you. I love you. I swallowed hard, feeling the old pull, the memories flooding in, the laughter, the secrets, the stolen afternoons we once shared. Emily, I began, my voice low. You say that now, but you were the one who chose him. You were the one who walked away from what we had. Do you understand what that cost me? Tears formed in her eyes. I know, Alex. I know it hurt you. Every day I regretted it. But I thought it was the only way. I didn't see myself clearly. I nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. You didn't see me. That's true. And I didn't see the man I would become until I left. Until I learned to stand on my own, to demand respect from myself first. She took a step closer, her hands trembling. Alex, Stop, I said gently, holding up my hand. Not yet. I need to speak first. Her lips pressed together, waiting, eyes searching mine. The man you loved, he was me, yes. But that boy didn't survive rejection. I did, though. I became stronger, disciplined, and whole. Not for you. Not for anyone. For me. Emily's hands shook as she lowered them. I see that. I see everything you've become. And I want to be part of it. With you. I took a deep breath, looking past her to the city skyline. The army taught me many things, discipline, patience, strategy, but most importantly, it taught me self-worth. Life isn't about chasing what's lost. It's about claiming what you deserve. Emily, I said quietly, I've spent years dreaming of this reunion, imagining the moment we could be together again. But the ultimate victory isn't in holding you. It's in respecting myself. In knowing that I am enough, with or without you. Her tears fell freely now. Alex, I can't lose you again. You won't, I said softly. You'll always have a place in my heart. Always. But my arms, my life, are mine. I've earned control over them. And I can't hand that away, not even to the person I love most. Her lips quivered. So you're walking away? I am, I said, my voice steady. Not because I don't care. Not because I don't love you. But because I've learned the most important lesson. Love isn't about possession. It's about freedom. Freedom to grow, freedom to heal, freedom to choose yourself first. She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. I understand. I see it now. And I respect it. But it still hurts. I know, I said gently. Pain is part of life. Part of growth. And this is our moment of truth. You realize the cost of choices. I realize the power of standing tall after being broken. Emily swallowed, looking at me with that mix of longing and regret I knew all too well. I should have never underestimated you, she whispered. I should have fought for you. You made your choices, I said softly. I made mine. And now, we see who we've become. She reached out tentatively, brushing a hand against my arm. Alex, I love you. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, feeling the warmth, the pull, the old desire. And then I opened them, resolute. I know. And I forgive you. Not because you asked, not because I owe you, but because forgiveness is for me. To release the past and own my future. Her lips trembled. Alex. Goodbye, Emily, I said quietly, stepping back. Not forever, but for now, so that we both can live fully with clarity and truth. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. Goodbye, Alex. I turned, walking down the terrace stairs alone. The city stretched out before me, vibrant, alive, full of possibilities. I felt the weight of the past lift, replaced by a quiet, unshakable strength. The streets felt different now, my steps lighter, more deliberate. I inhaled deeply, the night air sharp and clean. For the first time in years, I wasn't haunted by rejection or betrayal. I was free. I was powerful. I was myself. Passing a familiar cafe, I caught a glimpse of Emily inside, watching me leave. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The knowledge of what she had lost, the gap between the man she had chosen and the man I had become, was enough. And in that moment, I understood true victory. Not revenge. Not anger. Not reclaiming what was once denied. But self-respect, dignity, and the quiet strength that comes from surviving heartbreak and betrayal. I walked past the city streets, lights reflecting off puddles from an earlier rain. The hum of life surrounded me, but I felt apart from it. Yet part of it, in control, present, unstoppable. Every step I took was mine. Every choice mine. And as the wind brushed past me, carrying distant laughter, music, and life, I felt something I hadn't in years, peace. Real, unshakable, earned peace. I smiled faintly to myself. Emily would remember me. James would remember me. And most importantly, I would always remember me. The man who came back stronger, wiser, and unbroken. I disappeared into the streets of Boston alone but whole. Free. Powerful. Victorious.